Imagine a routine afternoon in your own backyard, when the grass and dirt suddenly crack apart and collapse into a steaming hole. That is exactly what happened to a 12-year-old boy in Centralia, Pennsylvania in 1981. The earth opened into a near-vertical shaft, plummeting 150 feet down. Lethal heat and thick steam poured out of the darkness. The boy narrowly escaped falling to the bottom by grabbing onto an exposed tree root, holding on until he could be pulled to safety. This 150-foot void signaled a far deeper crisis than a simple surface collapse. This animated cross-section reveals what was happening beneath the surface. Below the normal streets and houses, a massive fire was burning through an interconnected network of subterranean tunnels. As we pan out, you can see that these glowing red passages extend far beyond a single yard. They run horizontally under the soil, tracing the exact boundary of the entire community. The very bedrock supporting the town had become an active, superheated hazard. The crisis began 19 years earlier, in 1962, with something completely routine, a controlled trash fire at the local landfill. The fatal error lay in the landfill's location. It was positioned directly next to the opening of an unsealed, abandoned coal mine shaft. Centralia had spent decades building its economy on deep underground mining. As we see in this historical photograph of the original miners, they carved out a vast, dark labyrinth of low-ceilinged tunnels right beneath the town. When the trash fire spread into that shaft, it triggered a coal seam fire. A small flicker of flame caught the exposed coal walls, slowly igniting the dense carbon and spreading a persistent, glowing heat along the rock face. Because these man-made passages were empty and extensive, they acted like a massive chimney system. They drew in a continuous supply of oxygen, feeding the flames as they advanced through the darkness. A single surface spark combined with a century of industrial mining to create a self-sustaining furnace that would outlast every attempt to extinguish it. Over the years, the subterranean heat radiated upward, slowly baking the soil from below and warping the surface environment. Invisible, highly toxic gases, like carbon monoxide, began seeping up through the porous earth, silently pooling inside residential basements. The physical strain of the thermal expansion tore the town apart. The asphalt buckled and split, creating deep fissures straight down the center of the roads. The pressure eventually forced its way out. Plumes of white, sulfurous steam began venting directly from the cracked pavement and the surrounding forest floor, visible across the desolate landscape. Engineers tried excavating trenches, flushing the mines with water, and pumping in non-combustible ash to choke off the air supply. Every single containment effort failed to stop the advancing perimeter. The fire outpaced every attempt to fight it, rendering the ground above structurally unstable and chemically lethal. Faced with an unwinnable battle, the government concluded that the only way to protect the people was to remove them entirely. Thousands of residents packed up their lives, abandoning the only properties and neighborhoods they had ever known. To prevent squatting and eliminate liability, the state brought in heavy machinery. They systematically demolished the remaining structures, block by block, house by house. Today, that once thriving town center looks like this. Wide, empty landscapes and dense forest have reclaimed the footprint where entire neighborhoods used to stand. To save the citizens of Centralia, the town itself had to be erased from the map. What remains is a surreal ghost town. Grids of paved roads and sidewalks still exist, but they now lead to absolute nowhere. Weathered municipal fixtures, like this isolated red fire hydrant, still stand uselessly among the dead grass and overgrown fields. Despite the extreme danger and the mass evictions, a tiny handful of defiant residents refuse to leave, and they continue to live in this fractured landscape today. Directly beneath their remaining homes, the fire continues to advance. This data visualization compares the tiny sliver of coal burned since 1962 to the massive, deep underground reserves still untouched. Experts calculate there is enough fuel left for the fire to burn for centuries. The town's disappearance followed a slow, persistent process of thermal destruction, rather than a sudden catastrophic event. Living here means choosing a home above a fire that will outlast everyone currently alive.
Subscribe to World Unpacked Stories for more unbelievable places hidden around our world.